Dr. Dieter Kranzlmüller is representative of Germany to the European Grid Infrastructure Council, as well as the strategic director for the EGI Initiative Design Study. We heard a little bit about these organizations during the sessions over the last couple of days, but I'm sure we'll hear more about what this all means from Dieter as he gives his presentation tonight. Dieter also serves the international community as the Area Director of Applications in the Open Grid Forum on OGF. Dr. Kranzlmüller, Dieter, is a full professor of computer science at LMU in Munich, and is a member of the board of the Leibniz Supercomputing Center at the Bavarian Academy of Sciences and Humanities. So please welcome Dr. Dieter Kranzlmüller.
Okay, so good evening, everybody. I hope this works, and I should show my first slide. It does not. Let me see. That's computer science in practice. And here's the right one. I do have to apologize before I begin for my jeans, yes. This is an example for a problem with the service level agreement at my dry cleaner. Okay, I'm going to tell you a story tonight, a story about the European Grid Initiative. And this story is something that I've been telling for the last couple of years. And so when Walter approached me to say to come here, I said, it's a great pleasure. It's good to come here. I heard something about Canada. I heard something about what you were doing over various channels. And well, I'm just proud to be able to tell you something about what we did. And that's called the EGI. And below you see the logos of my institutions, just to mention them. I'll try to make it short. So let me come to a slide. I've shown that in the other event over there before, because that's the starting point for what we want to do. So that's the world's largest grid infrastructure, production grid infrastructure, available 24 hours a day for a variety of communities. You see them over there. And with a number of sites included, 260 sites providing more than 150,000 cores. So that's, by definition, among the largest machines, among the largest systems on the planet. And that also does lots of things. For instance, it does 330,000 jobs per day. So there are people actually using this for their daily work. That's a grid infrastructure under demonstration. You know all these applications, so I'm going to save that. But the message here is that, of course, we have production grids. That's only one example. We have many others. And the US has their comparable system, and Asia has a comparable system. But of course, there's also some problem, and I wanted to focus on how we address the problems. In order to do that, I'll show you the series of projects. EGE is not one project, it's actually 3 projects. I was involved in since the very beginning, EGE 1, so to say, since 2004, and you see the numbers of the EC contribution. So that's the money that the European Commission is giving to this project to provide this service to the user. And I believe it's money well spent because we see the 330,000 jobs around there. But of course, the 330,000 jobs, the 30 millions that we see there, well, they are only the EC funding. And if you divide it by the 2 years, you have 16 million per year. If you actually add the contribution from each of the participants, you have another 32 million per year spent on this infrastructure, just to run it, just to make sure that people have the infrastructure. And that does not include the hardware resources. So additional to that, somebody must put in money for the hardware resources. So it's again a different chapter. The Commission is sponsoring the personnel, and somebody else is sponsoring the hardware resources. So in total, they are spending 50 million euro on this particular infrastructure. And that's been done every year. The problem is, of course, we need to know where we're going from here. Okay? Spending this money means also where is the perspective into the future. And that's the story I wanted to tell you. So the story about how EGI came to take place. So it took, well, long ago means in IT ages, it's 2004. That's long ago. And in 2004, the project director of EGE, my good friend Fabrizio Gagliardi, wrote a paper on the International Grid Organization. So he had a vision. That's the starting point. You need this vision to go to. And that's this IGO that has been written there. And he wrote an idea on how could we make this thing sustainable. Because spending just 50 million a year is not a sustainable approach. Because with EGE, you have only a 2-year perspective. So actually, if you go to EGE today, you don't know if there is an EGE 2 years from now. And that's not what users want. It's different with the network. If I connect my laptop to the network, I know I can connect it also in 2 years or in 5 years, because there's somebody will be providing the network services. That's not the same with the grids. So this vision from Fabrizio was, of course, only the first idea, and he discussed with other people from CERN. I was at CERN at that time, so I was able to read that paper, but also with people like Renater and Géant. Renater is the French network provider. Why did he talk to the network provider? Well, there's one thing different between the grids and the network, because, as I said, the networks have a sustainable model. We wanted to learn from them, so we went to them, and if you take a look, here's the other relation. Grids wouldn't be there without the network. So we have this layered architecture where we see the network infrastructure at the bottom, then the grid infrastructure, and on top of that, we have the users, the data infrastructure, whoever wants to exploit this thing. The difference between the layers is that the bottom layer is sustainable, that the bottom layer has a long-term plan and is kind of ensuring the users that there will be a service. So how could we get it into the grid infrastructure? So that was taken on in the ideas, and the ideas kind of evolved into an international center for grid middleware. Then we saw that, well, focusing only on the middleware is not the solution. So let's go back to something which we called the European Grid Organization. And you know, one reason why this was not taken, you can just take the acronym here, because the ego was too high of some people. Okay, that was still 2005, so it took 1 year to do this. In the meantime, some other people did something else. That's the so-called E-Infrastructure Reflection Group. So the first thing you saw was the technical side, where the people providing the services thinking about the future vision. The second level is the strategic side, the policy side. That's this group that reports to the states and to the European member states about what to do in this area of e-infrastructures. And basically, they provide recommendations. So EIG was founded in 2003, also ages ago, of course. And since 2003, the group comes together. Actually, they had their last workshop yesterday and the day before. So they were, again, reviewing the situation, finding out what they could improve. One thing here was that in 2005, Malcolm Reid, under the UK presidency, wrote, as a chair of this group, the European Vision for a Universal E-Infrastructure for Research. And interesting enough, the ideas were not too different, how to say. So here was the vision from the strategic side saying, we need to do something that is sustainable, and there was the technical side saying, we need to do something that is sustainable. The idea is described here. Something like providing research resources to the users so to make better and more effective research. Well, that's our actual goal. That's by how we are measured. And this vision kind of tries to help to reach this goal. So the NRG came up with recommendation. That's one of the recommendations that I copied here. And it says basically that the project-based financing model that we see in grids is not good because it has continuity problems and interoperability problems. If you're just working on your project, you have to deliver your project goals. It's difficult to make sure that you're interoperating with somebody else. So if grids continue this way, then we will have many grids and they will not interoperate. The other thing that you see in the almost bottom line here is the national grid initiatives. So the idea was any future model must be based on the national grid initiatives. The term was basically coined there, and the idea was, let's again see what the network community did.